Hi, hello, and thanks for joining me for my first cruise of the season. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. And of course, my first problem is getting the boat out of the marina for a cruise south down the Oxford Canal.
So thanks everyone for all the advice and help you gave me on my steering when I brought the Grey Wagtail down to the marina. I'm trying to put it all into practice today, getting that extra power on when I need it and not going beyond 45 degrees with the tiller. So let's see how it goes. This is going to be a relatively short cruise. I'm just heading down towards Banbury and back. I think it's 3 or 4 locks and then back up to the marina tomorrow.
Coming out of the marina, it's quite a tight turn. And as a number of people suggested in the comments, I now have some forward-facing footage. As a number of people suggested in the comments on my earlier videos, when I'm doing these sort of sharp tight maneuvers, what I need to do is put on a sudden burst of speed, which is quite difficult to do with the sort of wheel device that I have to control the engine, and not take the tiller beyond 45 degrees. And as you can see, I've taken that on board, and that's what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so I did have to put the boat in reverse so I didn't hit the far bank, but using that sudden burst of speed and taking it off really helped me turn the boat and get through the tight turn coming out of the marina. And I was doing all of this whilst being watched from the bank.
Out of 10! Thank you! Of course, coming up to moored boats, slow down to tick over. And yes, this is tick over on the Grey Wagtail. It does seem to have quite a high tick over on it. I've looked at this, I've looked at the engine and I've read manual and it's doing the right RPM. This is the tick over for this particular boat. Okay, coming up to my first real challenge here, we've got a very narrow section of canal. It looks like it's a form of bridge or possibly lift bridge. Very high bank there on my left, high bank there on my right. Oh, a bit too close to that right hand bank there in the hedge. Hard to tell with the brambles where the edge of the actual canal is. Okay, so I've passed the moored boats. I can take my speed up. Some more boats. Oh, first lock coming up straight ahead. I can see it, and some more moored boats. So better slow it down. Looks like quite a few people at the locks. Somebody thinks coming up it, which is good news. Could be set in the right way for me, which is excellent. And today I've got my super secret lock helper on board with me, so I won't be doing any locks. Yep, they've just opened up the gate and the boat is coming out. Yep. Not very elegant. Watching the bridge up there. Never good to make a hash, I think, when you're doing much. Okay, so that's the first lock of the season done. And also under the first bridge, bridge 152 on the Oxford Canal. Okay, some issues there with the boat not being very responsive, but as somebody sort of said in the comments, give it a bit of welly. Gave it a bit of welly, took it off, pushed the stern around nicely, swung the bow around. I think it got a bit shallow in there on the edge, and I just got hung up on the edge there. Oh, I think I spy a heron up there on the left. Okay, it's quite tricky going past some of these boats here because you want to give them plenty of space so you're not disturbing them and pulling against their chains and their ropes. But if you get too far over towards this bank, my right hand bank here, you suddenly run aground and lose all steering. It just happened to me up there. Quite worrying. Happens quite easily as well. Absolutely stunning day out here on the Oxford Canal. Beautiful weather. Seen some baby ducks, or to use the correct term, ducklings, and I've seen some baby, I think they were moorhens. Little black balls of fluff. Beautiful, beautiful weather. And we're just about to come up to our second lock of the trip, just after the bridge that you can see in the distance, if the front camera's working. I took on board what a lot of you said about the front camera and having a front view, so I've got one up the front. It's supposed to be sort of controlled from here, but it's not working, so it's on permanent record, and it may have got bored by now and shut itself down, so hopefully I've got some forward looking footage this time. We'll see. Second lock of the day, and an absolutely stunning view. Doesn't get much better than this. Rural England, cows, farm, blue sky, fluffy cloud. Fantastic. Now when you're in the lock, as it's going down, you've got to be careful because there's a thing at the back here called a sill, and if the boat gets hung up on that, because it actually will jut above the water when the water's at its lowest point in the lock, if you get hung up on that, you can actually sink your narrowboat because it raises the front, drops the bow down into the water, and next thing you know, you're sinking. So I've got my trusty super secret shy lock helper doing the lock, and I'm on board keeping an eye on the boat, making sure it doesn't bang into anything, making sure it doesn't hit the sill at the back of the lock. And as the water's leaving the lock, you're bouncing around a little bit. Water's been flowing out of the bottom, you've got it flowing in through any gap in the gates at the back, and so you will move. So you need to keep your eyes on what's going on, you need to keep your eyes peeled and make sure your boat remains sort of hovering nicely, not too close. You can now, I don't know if you can see it back there, but now the sill has appeared, and that's what you can get the back of the boat hung up on, or damage your rudder or prop on as well, so you need to keep an eye on that. And that's the lock empty. You can hear me above the rushing water behind me. The lock is now empty. The gates are opening up. Thanks to my super secret shy lock helper, the gates are opening up, and then I will be able to move out of the lock. And away we go. Mustn't forget to pick up my super shy lock helper. don't know if you can see it across the field there, but that's a fine example of ridge and furrow ploughing or field structure. Quite a lot of it around here in Oxfordshire. Okay, got my first other boat coming towards me today. Well, apart from that one coming out of the lock. Let's see how this goes. Quite narrow here now, quite close on my side. Oh, heron spooked. Good to see. I think I'm on the shallower side of the canal, if there is such a thing. Seems to be more of a bank on the left hand side over there than there is on the right here. This seems to be where cows can come down into the water, so I'm guessing it's going to be quite shallow. Okay, coming up to our third lock of the day. Hopefully it'll be set for us because we just had that boat past coming up. So hopefully it'll all be full and ready to go unless somebody's emptied it out and they're coming up, in which case it'll still be full for us eventually.
A fantastic looking lockkeeper's cottage at Bourton Locks that now seems to be semi-derelict and falling into disrepair. Such a shame.
Stunning weather, stunning day, fantastic to be out. Okay, now coming up to the M40. I passed over the canal on my way to the marina, and that's the road that I took. Seems very funny to be going under the M40 on a canal. Currently doing about 3 miles an hour, went over that doing about 65. Bit of a blind corner here, I'm going to sound the horn. Love the sound of the engine when going under the bridge. And of course, being a big kid, you gotta. Hey! Honestly, I'm doing that because there's quite a tight corner coming up here, not being a big kid. Would never do such a thing. Just coming up to our fourth lock of the day. I think this is the last one of the day before we go and look for somewhere to moor. Or turn around and then look for somewhere to moor for the night. My super shy secret lock helper is already in position on the bow, getting ready to get off and do the lock. Excellent.
It was at this point an alarm started to sound on board the boat.
Yeah, I've got an alarm going off. Still not sure what that alarm is, but when I increase the engine revs, the alarm seems to go away. I'll try and have a look at it when I'm in the lock. Well, I've just had a quick walk through the boat and I can't find any obvious thing that's making that beep beep alarm sound. Everything seems fine in there. Most odd. Very confusing indeed. Quite a surprising amount of water flowing over the back of this lock here. It does make you wonder where all this water comes from. We haven't had any rain in the UK for quite a while. So where's all the water coming from? It's coming through here. Every time we empty the lock, we're losing water or pushing water down the canal, and it's constantly flowing. So it's got to be coming from somewhere. Again, watching out for the seal hook here, and I don't want to get too close just in case that water ends up coming over the stern of the boat. So, hover time in the lock. I'm actually getting wet now at the back of this lock with the water coming over the top and around the sides, splashing off the seal. My super secret shy lock helpers just discovered that they can't walk across the lock gate back here because the bit that you walk across is actually underwater. Well, I just had to get up on the roof of the boat, walk along it, go on the other side of the lock, get off, open the gate. No way you can walk along that gate there in the current state. There's no walkway, and the bridge up here, bridge 160, there doesn't seem to be a way to get up and off the bridge from the lock. Well, that's kind of worrying. There appears to be a large bit of tree in the canal up here. Right in the middle of the canal. I'm not too sure which is the best way to go around it. I think possibly on its right. Where that's come from? Well, obviously a tree, but you know, where it's true, maybe a tree down. Only trouble is now I'm running aground, having avoided that piece of tree. Oh, some really nasty spiky stuff. Ow. Well, that wasn't good. In my attempt to avoid the bit of tree in the middle of the canal, which isn't as bad as it first appeared. I thought it was a rather large branch, but it wasn't. In fact, it was a rather small branch, but you never know what's under the water. I managed to go straight into what I can only describe as a wild rose bush. Very painful indeed. Ah, does it get any better? Putting down the canal with a cup of tea in your hand. Fantastic. Now thinking about places to moor. Unfortunately here we've got a busy main road on our right, and it sounds like there's a train line over to my left, so not very good around here. Push on a bit, see how far we get, and then if we get to the turning, the winding hole, turn around, go back, and then we'll probably moor somewhere up from that last look that we went through. Yeah, very noisy road over there, wouldn't want to be near that. Now I could turn here. I think I've got plenty of room to actually get the boat around, but it's not where I'm planning to turn. I'm supposed to be going on a little bit further down the canal. Maybe there'll be a quiet spot down here somewhere to moor. Let's see. Okay, so we've reached the winding hole. Always entertaining, me trying to turn a boat. Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. Of course, there'd be a boat coming the other way. Oh! Sorry. Oh! Engine cut out then, that was handy. Sorry about that, you don't see anybody all day, just when you want to turn around. Okay, made a moderate hash of that. Could have been a lot worse. Okay, we're just coming back to that lock that we had the fun and games with earlier, where there wasn't an easy and obvious way to cross over. We've got somebody ahead of us, so I think we're going to go and give them a hand, because otherwise it's quite tricky to do the different gates, particularly on the bottom part. So my super secret shy lock helper is standing ready on the bow to get off the boat and go and offer them a hand.
At this point, the beeping sound at low engine revs was really beginning to worry me, and I finally tracked it down to an oil pressure warning. Now, why this was happening I didn't know at the time, and I did try to do a canal side fix. The problem was the engine kept cutting out.
Okay, I've got to the bottom of what that mysterious beeping sound is. It's actually an oil pressure warning, which is very worrying. I had a look at the oil and everything seemed fine there. I don't know. Warm weather caused the cable to stretch. Bit odd, to say the least. Well, that's us back through what I'm going to call the cat lock, which is really Little Burton Lock 27. I call it the cat lock because there's a sign on the lock keeper's cottage here that says a house without a cat is not a home. That doesn't actually look like anybody lives in the cottage anymore, which is a real shame. Sorry, it says a home without a cat is just a house. Same difference. Well, that was fun. Just tried to moor up and got myself seriously grounded. Just couldn't get the boat in. Got the front in, couldn't get the back in. Got the back in, couldn't get the front in. So the quest for a mooring space or mooring place continues. Tight corner, quick burst of power, 45 degrees on the rudder. Thank you to all the people that suggested that for getting around these tight corners. Works an absolute trick, as does pumping the tiller. That also really helps. Okay, so I think this is take 3 at mooring up. Just going into another lock. Just the other side of it, we found some space that I think we can get into the bank. It's got sort of sheet planking along it, that metal planking stuff, and hopefully we can get in there and get the boat moored up. If not, we need to go through the next bridge, and then there's a whole bunch of boats moored up, and I think I can sneak in between 2 of the boats. So let's see how this goes.
Okay, so I decided to stop filming there because I'd had a fairly stressful time at trying to get the boat moored up. It had taken me 3 attempts, and I had that ongoing engine problem. Now, the engine problem is something new. I think it's because this is the first time I've taken the Grey Wagtail out with the engine under load, because I was actually running the generator and onboard electrics as we were going along, and I'd not done that before. Anyway, I spent the next 45 minutes or so fiddling around with the engine, trying to get the engine revs right. I wanted them about 500 revs and also not sort of stalling. What was happening, or what seemed to be happening to me, is when I was at high revs, like coming into a lock, for example, and then I took the revs right down, then the flywheel, which would normally have kept things sort of ticking over effectively, was slowing down because of the load placed on it by the generator. and that's what was causing the engine revs to drop below 500, the oil pressure to drop, and eventually the engine to stall out. Anyway, I spent 45 minutes fiddling around with the sort of revs on the engine. I got it back to about 500 revs. It was idling a bit low, even when there was no load on it. I got it back to about 500 revs and I thought I had it fixed. Anyway, I stopped filming there, settled in for the night on board the Grey Wagtail and had a great night. So, thanks for watching this long. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Don't forget to click like if you've enjoyed this video, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. On the screen now you'll see a QR code that takes you through to a free newsletter about the Grey Wagtail. Just scan the link or click on the link in the description and that will take you through to subscribe to the newsletter. Again, thanks for watching and bye for now.